Dobro večer svima. Ja se nadam da se čujemo i vidimo. Moje ime je Nevena Simkins i ja sam jedna od mentorki u VIA akademici. Večeras imam veliku čast da sa vama popričam i podelim neke zanimljive informacije o jednom američkom koledžu koji se nalazi u Solunu, u Grčkoj. Oni su nama veoma blizu, ne samo po kilometrima, nego mislim i po kulturi i hrani. I mislim da naši studenti zaista vole da studiraju u jednoj tako toploj mediteranskoj zemlji. Ono o čemu ćemo pričati večeras jeste američki sistem koji je definitivno karakterisan nečim što se zove liberal arts. Šta je to što, na primjer, liberal arts izdvaja, kakve su školarine za naše studente, da li postoje neke stipendije, najpopularniji programi za osnovne i master studije. Tako da ću ja sada pozdraviti Vulu. Hi, Vula.
Hi. Thank you so much for having us.
It's my absolute pleasure. I think some of the people that were watching the Instagram live last week, they got a glimpse of what ACT is actually like, but I am also very happy to hear and learn more from you.
First of all, thank you for having us last week for the Instagram live. I guess my colleague Manolis, covered most of the part, but also,
great.
allowed me to, to a little bit go into a more detailed, let's say, introduction and information session about ACT. So I will share with you more information on how to apply for a scholarship, for example, or the percentage of scholarship that someone can receive. So basically details that are usually very essential to students when they are applying for a university. My name is Vula Dushku, let me just introduce myself for a little bit so that students can know who is presenting ACT. I have been almost 13 years with ACT, first as a student, both for bachelor and master's programs, and then working, professionally for ACT. So apart from my professional point of view, I can still remember some things from my student life here. So they feel free to ask questions if they have, like questions in regards to the student life and, of course, college life here at ACT.
So I have a question actually for you because you're a student at ACT. What is your, I guess, favorite memory of studying there? Do you have one? Do you have a couple that you would like to share?
I mean, I have a lot of great memories, but I would say that, last year, my favorite professor passed away. So it's a sad story, but he was a great mind, and he was a mentor to a lot of students. His name was Veseridis, and he was teaching computer science. So we called him Mr. Excel because he loved working on Excel. He loved presenting every problem, every solution on Excel. And, it's something that I usually use in my daily life now. And back then I was like, why do we learn those things? However, going to use those things. And then, when I started working professionally for companies or for here at ACT, the organization, I started understanding why he was using so much Excel, which was, it made a difference as a working person, as a professional person, afterwards. So I would say that one of the best memories was that, we were doing Excel with him, for example. Another great memory was that I got to meet a lot of students from different cultures. So nowadays, because of work, because of what I do, basically I travel a lot. So I have someone in every country, a past student, a former student, to share my experiences, and talk and just remember random stuff that we did during our college life years. So I would say this is a second very, very important experience that I received from ACT. And I usually say to all students, regardless of whether they are Americans or, Europeans or coming from the Balkan area or Asians or Africans, just get along with different nationalities, because it's something that you will remember the next day, and you will create your own experiences and memories with those people. So, it counts a lot for when you get older a little bit. Not too old, but older. But yeah,
Never too old.
Thank you. But yeah, these are two of my, let's say, kind of favorite memories as a student. Definitely, I have more, but yeah, I think these were the most, let's say, memorable times that usually
That's so sweet.
we keep in mind.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. And with Excel, for example, I'm not great at it, but my husband is an Excel master. That's all he does all day long. So I can definitely see like the importance of knowing how to work on that software, how much it can
He would
help.
love his course. He would love his course. If he was still teaching, he would love his course. So
Yeah. And the international part that you mentioned, like every student that we meet here, we also say it's very important to be a global citizen. If you're not ready to meet other cultures, speak to other people, and kind of expand your circle. After all, we are all on this big planet, and at the end of the day, we're all just people that are trying to meet other people and learn from one another. So it's a very nice and humble aspect. So thank you for sharing. I love that.
Pleasure. Well, this is the essence of the American educational system. So if I may, I will share your screen so that we get going into the presentation. But this is basically, when we refer to the American educational system, because a lot of students, they usually see a school and they like it. But the importance thing is to understand whether you are suitable for that educational system or not, because it's a little bit different coming to, let's say, American style universities, which means that you are going into liberal arts. I will elaborate on this, but I'm just mentioning like a couple of things that are going to follow in our presentation. And it's totally different if you're going, let's say, to the UK system or to the European system. It doesn't mean that the one is better and the other one is worse. It means that there are elements that as a person suits you best in one of the two systems or 3 or 4 systems. And this is, the best way to go when you're deciding for a college. Learn, what is the difference between the different, educational systems. Learn, what does this mean? What does it mean to go to a liberal arts school? Because practically you will be living that for 4 years. So these are mainly the things that I would advise students at this time of process, for applying and, or let's say research on where they are going. And of course, it's very important to receive information, for example, from Via Academica. It's very, very important because they get to have someone, first of all, who is speaking their language to help them with materials, with the practical things. But it's not only the practical things, because when someone is coming to you for advice, you are going to demonstrate all the pros and cons to going to those or 2 or 3 or 5 or whatever universities for applying. And by doing this, you will have someone who is going to represent you in any case, and someone who is going to give you the whole image. So it's not just, collecting the papers and, doing the documents. Your job is a more essential, when someone is deciding where to go, because you kind of connect, to what student wants and needs with the university that he or she will be applying eventually. So it's very important. We didn't have those, let's say, services back then, and now students have that. So utilize it. You have the time, you have the right people at the right place. So just utilize those tools.
Exactly.
Let me just share my screen a little bit with you.
I'll mute myself so that you don't hear any noise in the background, but I'll be here if there are any questions.
Feel free to interrupt me if you have questions. In the meantime, I will be glad to share more, let's say, information. So just a second, please. Okay, there you go. So I represent the American College of Thessaloniki, which is located in Greece. Thessaloniki, or Solun as the name states, which I'm trying with my Serbian. I'm not very good at it, but I'm trying. So bear with me. Today's presentation, we are going to talk a little bit who we are, mission, maybe our student population, why someone gets selected, for example, ACT, what activities are going to do in Thessaloniki or in other places as a student, you know, academics, majors that you can actually follow, what does it mean to go with the liberal arts education, the community, and of course, you know, the most important part, which is the admissions philosophy and scholarship opportunities for students that are interested in applying for. Let me just start by saying who we are. So ACT is the post-secondary division of Anatolia College. Anatolia College starts from kindergarten and has more than 135 years in the educational field. So this means that, you know, ACT is part of the Anatolia College, but it's separated into different names because here in Greece, even though we are an American institution, the secondary and the post-secondary division, they have to be decided, even though they're the same institution and organization. We are a non-profit organization, so this means that we are not a business, we are not owned by a businessman, and that's why we don't provide discounts, we provide scholarship to students, which of course, you know, apart from the economical, let's say, motivation, there are also academic factors that follow in regards to scholarships. And of course, we are fully US and UK accredited. I know that a lot of students nowadays, they are not really interested into, you know, the accreditation and what does this mean, but throughout your studies as a student, it means a lot. First of all, whether it is granting you the possibility to transfer in US, which ACT does, for example, or whether you can actually transfer the first 2 years of courses and then transfer them to another institution, which again, ACT does. Apart from that, also, it grants you the possibility to work or study everywhere you like after you graduate. So it's very, very important. So when you're applying for a scholarship or applying, you know, for a university, just make sure that you are not, let's say, impressed by the scholarships, and this is why you're applying to an institution. You need to be impressed by the educational system. You need to be impressed, you know, by the accreditation. For example, we are accredited in the United States by NICHE, which is the New England Commission of Higher Education. It's exactly the same accreditation system that Harvard, Yale, MIT uses. So it means that our students have exactly the same academic rights and professional rights with those students who are graduating from those universities. And we have a second validation from Open British University, just to make sure that because of the Brexit, students won't be facing any problems, you know, in the future, in the near future, when they wish to apply for a job there or for a master's program, right? So our mission, I would say that we are committed to liberal arts, as I mentioned in the beginning, which means that it's a little bit different to other educational systems. Being committed to liberal arts, it means that during the first year of studies, students take some general required courses, which of course cultivate, you know, their soft skills. They focus on how to think and not what to think, or decision-making, flexibility, working in teams, but also individually. And at the same time, they take some specific courses based on the concentration that they wish to follow. For example, on psychology, if I like psychology, then I will take the introductory level courses in psychology. And then some elective courses, which are basically kind of saving the day, because in the case that someone really wishes to change, you know, the concentration from what they selected, they can do that during the first year of studies. So it also works as a safety net. Usually this is how I call it, because it helps students to understand, okay, I might be liking in my 17 years old, you know, let's say psychology or biology or computer science, but then I decide during the first year that I see myself as a fit in business administration, for example, or in business and computing. With the same logic, students can actually do a major and a minor. So they start with advising from the first year of studies. from a professor, I'm sorry. So they have guidance throughout the full 4 years. In the third and in the fourth year of studies, they can choose the minor. For example, a lot of students, they choose to do marketing with a minor in psychology so that they get to open a second field in their master studies afterwards, or receive, let's say, a totally different point of view to what they are already studying. The same applies for other majors, for example, management with marketing, or computer science with business, or let's say psychology with international relations, or communication and new media with English language and literature. So there are totally different, let's say, combinations that a student can do just to make sure that they are receiving, the full, let's say, knowledge in regards to what they need to follow afterwards in master's programs. Afterwards, you can see, a lot of leaders have graduated with degrees rooted in liberal arts. And I think the main reason to do that is because, you need to know how to create, to collaborate, to be innovative or inspire others. So unless you understand a field from different point of views, you cannot be leading, the whole team, for example. And then, we mentioned, because one of my best experiences at ACT was the multicultural environment. We have more than 600 students every year coming as freshman students to ACT. A large percentage of those students are degree-seeking students, which means that they are coming for a full 4 years at ACT or for the full year in the master's program, but also we have visiting students. We share one of the largest US study abroad programs in Europe. We accept approximately 400 to 500 US students coming for only one semester. But at the same time, we also use, this visiting part for our students to go to US. We share a collaboration with 40 universities, from Boston University to Northeastern to St. Thomas, Washington University, and a lot of students, they can do their one semester study abroad, or they can actually transfer after their second year of studies. So this is also a possibility, which I will elaborate more, but just keep in mind that in the case that you are interested to go to US, you can do the first 2 years at ACT and then transfer to US with all the courses that you took in the first 2 years without losing any time or money, because they are kind of transferable because of the accreditation that I mentioned in the beginning. So you won't be facing any issues. Of course, you need to be at the same, let's say, major, right? You cannot be here, let's say, for marketing, and then you wish to transfer to US for medicine. It won't apply, right? So you have to kind of be at the same concentration so that you get transfer all the courses there. You can actually see the countries that are represented at ACT. We have a large percentage of US and Canada students who are coming from Canada, large percentage from students who are coming from Greece. But then we have a very strong, let's say, representation from students from, the Europe countries, let's say, also Nordic countries as well, the Balkan area. And we have other students as well, not in so many, let's say, huge numbers, but we also have students from Asia and Africa, Japan. So it's very, very important, because we have that belief which says live like a local. And it's very, very important because you get that experience, you get the culture, you get to do homework assignments or teamwork assignments with other students and do presentations in your classes. So you kind of bring something to the table and the other person is bringing something else. So you're a unique combination, when it comes to presenting, let's say, your project, which is very important. Why ACT? Usually when I was doing this slide, I thought it would be, I should use the acronyms of ACT. It refers to Americans to Academics, which means that we have a very active approach to academic learning. We have, let's say, students are engaged in classrooms. Classrooms are up to 16 students, which is very important because there is a personal communication with the professor. There is no an open door policy. So you have absences, you have an advisor. He's working along with you because he or she is going to be your mentor. So a lot of people, you know, they are integrated in your studies while you are here at ACT, so you have a lot of help. The C part refers to community, even though it goes to college, to the college, let's say, acronym, but usually I tend to call the American educational system like being part of the community. And the reason that I'm saying that is because there is that personal attention to the student from beginning to be an applicant. And this is the reason that we collaborate with the Academica, because they're very careful to when they're proceeding with students. They are very careful to sharing, let's say, information and how they are actually applying, you know, during the application process, and how they are dealing with the student, which is very important to us. And then, you know, from that process, that point, to the eventual process of being an applicant, a student, and finally an alumni, because we have a lot of alumni, so alumni students. And it's very important for us that you feel kind of an ambassador for the college that you are representing. Of course, your voice matters as a student. We have the Student Government Association. We have evaluation of classes every semester, which is very, very important. And we are considered to be a small college, which I'm saying that, you know, a lot of colleges, they think that it's a disadvantage, but I usually say that because I do think that it's a priority to go to a small college. The reason that I'm saying that is because you have a greater attention from professors. You can work closely in projects and learn more things. And then afterwards, you will eventually be globalized, you know, but it's very, very important because it's still, you know, those small parts that makes a difference in your daily life. So you feel kind of at home. And the last is location. We are located like kind of minutes away from downtown, like 20 minutes away. Thessaloniki, I mean, the campus is very huge. You can actually take a virtual tour, or let us know if you are ever visiting Thessaloniki so that we can tour you around. But Thessaloniki, you know, it's a great city. It's, I call it a sin city because once you're here, you will love it and you would like to stay. It's a college town. It has a lot of residents who are students. We have two huge public universities who attract a lot of students, both international students and Greek students. So you will also have the option and, you know, the let's say the possibility to meet with other people, not only from, you know, colleges, but also from public universities. It has a great history. You can actually go to museums or, you know, see different parts, let's say, of the Greece, of Thessaloniki. And of course, it's a popular travel location. You can walk by the port, which is a very long port. And we have this saying, which is halara. And usually, you know, Athens usually mocks us, you know, when we say this word halara, because the reason is that it means take it everything chill and enjoy, not to be not organized, but it means that, you know, everything will fall into the places. You can still be organized and you know, enjoy the time as a student or as a person. So go with the flow. This is how we usually say it in Thessaloniki. So in the capital, they usually make fun of us because we are more into, you know, going with the flow instead of having like very high speed as Athens, for example. Okay, so let's go into more, let's say, details. We have different programs, undergraduate and graduate programs, but also study abroad programs. I will not elaborate on the specific programs that we offer, but I will just mention in a more typical ways, and you can actually search or let me know if you need more information from me. We offer business administration with 4 concentrations: marketing, management, international business and finance, and tourism studies. Computer science, where a student has the option to go with computer science, which is pure programming, robotic, AI, networks, computing systems. But at the same time, as a student, you have the option to go with business and computing, which is a combination of business administration and computer science. At the same time, students have the option to go with communication and English, for example, in the case that you are interested into becoming a professor in the English language, or if you wish to go with communication and new media, where you kind of use both the marketing concentration and the English language literature concentration. So you kind of combine both. And then we have psychology, which is a general psychology in many different concentrations, such as psychology, tourism, communication, and new media. There is a mandatory internship from the first year of studies, which is very important for students, especially if they wish to work and they wish to go into that program. Even though we have a careers office that helps students throughout their studies at ACT, it's very important for students to have kind of a specified internship for their concentration. So to make sure, you know, that they are going into a more detailed orientation when they are graduating from ACT. Political science and international relation, which is a very, very popular undergraduate program. And of course, last but not least, our newest program, biology, where a lot of students are interested into that because especially for the students that they wish to follow a career in medicine, it's kind of required that you do a biology program, a program in biology, and then continue for medicine, for example, in US. It's kind of considered as a pre-med school. So it's very, very important in the case that you wish to do that as a student. And then moving into our master's program, we offer a master's in industrial organizational psychology, in hospitality and tourism management. And our MBA is in business administration with 4 concentration, as you can actually see over here: banking and finance, entrepreneurship, management, marketing, with digital marketing. In all of the courses, we follow the American educational system, so it's very, very important. And as I mentioned before, we have different exclusivities with US universities and EU universities. For example, some of those are, for example, you can do the 3+2 in engineering, 3 years in Thessaloniki and 2 years in US, moving into Washington University or in St. Thomas University. So you have that option as a student, or you might not wish to go to one of those universities that I am referring to, but you might wish to go, let's say, in Boston University or in Texas or in Miami. It doesn't matter as long as they share the same accreditation and they share the same liberal arts education. It's very helpful and useful because you can actually transfer all the courses that you took here into the next US institution and graduate from that US institution. Experiential learning is part of our, let's say, hands-on experience here at ACT. You have some point of service learning, like volunteering, giving back to community. A lot of students, they are using that to network with different NGOs, for example, or make sure that they put that into the CV. Practicums, internships. We actually offer the work and travel program for all students who are interested to work during summer in US. So this is also an option if you wish to save up some money. You know, a lot of students, they are saving up to $7,000 per summer, and usually this is how they finance their second and the third and the fourth year of studies for the undergraduate program. And then the more fun part, as I call it, are the excursions, which are some trips are for free, some trips are not for free, but definitely, these are optionals for students that they wish to participate, and they are, indicating from different parts of Greece to Europe. So it's very important as a student to be open-minded, and why not, travel a little bit with not so great fees, but at the same time be able to have access to that experience. Okay, so yeah, I think I covered part of that community with the multicultural environment and warm hospitality. I'm sure that you have all at some point been to Greece, either in Thessaloniki or to another place. So I'm sure that you have enjoyed part of it. Before going into the admissions philosophy and the best part with scholarship, would you like me to ask me a question, for example? I'm not sure.
Yeah, actually, I have one. In terms of the double degree programs that you mentioned, or 2+2, I think, 2 years in Greece and then 2 years, is that affected, or is it actually affecting the tuition at all?
Yes. The reason that we have, let's say, secured these unique contracts with different universities, because, during the first years at ACT, the fees, as you can understand, are a lot lower, are a lot lower in terms of, the tuition fee in general, but also on living expenses. When you transfer to US, you are going to be, let's say, under the tuition fees of that university. So for example, Washington University for engineering programs, the tuition fees are around $50,000 per year. So you can understand that you have saved up a lot of money doing 3 years at ACT, because our tuition fees are 8,400 euros. And I will elaborate more on that. Students from Serbia, Montenegro, and Bosnia and Herzegovina, they have by default a 45% of scholarships. So you can understand that they have secured a lot of money, and put that aside so that they can actually put that in their last 2 years in US. So plus, in those institutions that we share a collaboration with, we have secured a specific percentage of scholarship for students who wish to transfer there. Of course, they need to have like a really good GPA, right? For example, Washington University is number 19th worldwide. So you can understand that they will only accept students with a GPA of 3.25 and above. The highest here at the American educational system is 10, right? Not 4, not 10, as it is in Serbia, for example.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's very important for students who are really thinking about it, and they have the economic let's say stability, but at the same time they might not have it, and they are very good students, that there are opportunities, especially coming from the American educational system.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask, you mentioned that, the philosophy behind liberal arts and your college/university, there's a lot of teamwork. There's a lot of, like, you build a community within your own community. So has the pandemic affected that at all? Like, how does it work now?
Okay, so I will share a story first, and then I will answer your question.
I love stories.
Yeah, I think it's very important because, last like 3 weeks ago, I had a father who called me, and he was so thrilled because his daughter, for the first year, she went into the full pandemic mode here in 2021, not 21, 20, I'm sorry. So
it's been so long.
Yeah, I'm forgetting the years. So, she had the first year of studies as a freshman only online, because we were in a full quarantine mode here in Greece. So, and I was like, okay, how was her experience, And he was like, even though it was online, I see another kid in my house. She's searching for her own things. She's planning her days. She's organizing to get along with other students and communicate online and do their assignments and stuff like that. And, I was kind of relieved because, it makes sense that those students who went through the pandemic in an online mode in their first year of studies, they're totally affected. Let's be honest, right? It's your final year in high school. You wish to go out and have fun, and then you start your new life, and then boom, you're online, you're on your own house. So, it makes a difference. But I think that a lot of students manage, and they really like that because professors were, engaged to them, and they had that personal communication that I mentioned at the beginning. For 2021, for 2020, we provided both options, both online and physical presence. But then in November, we went into a quarantine. For this year, in 2021, all classes are with physical mode, apart from master's program, which we have provided with the double option, both online and physical presence, for the students that they don't wish to come, on campus, and they wish to do that distance learning. But I think it's better, for me, it's always better, the presence, because you get to to understand the vibe. You get to learn to live on your own. You're an individual. You're no longer a kid. So it's that transition that matters to a lot of adults, you know. And also you experience a totally different ground. You know, you're not very far away from home, but you're still far away from your parents. It has that perfect proximity, which it allows you to grow, but at the same time, you kind of feel that you're still, you know, have their support and they have your back. So it's kind of in the middle, but it allows students to grow a lot. So it's very important.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. 100%. University is definitely an experience in itself, not just grades, not just studying, not just, it's, you know, for me also, like my undergrad program, I still remember every day. And it's not because of what grades I got, it's mainly the experience that I had, like the people that I met, the professors I had, the projects I worked on. So I couldn't agree more. And for the upcoming students, or upcoming year, I should say, the students that are about to enroll, will they be in person, like in terms of classes, or
yes,
okay,
yeah.
fully?
I mean, fully. I mean, from this year, they are also fully on classes with physical presence mode, so there is no second option. You know, so we guess that, not we guess, I mean, most, like 99.99%, it will be again physical presence. But in general, 98% of our student body and staff, they are already vaccinated, so that we make sure, you know, all students are, let's say, safe. The 2% is basically because they are facing some, let's say, health issues, so they are still trying to figure out whether they need to be vaccinated or not. But they are also taking 3 times per week self-tests and rapid tests, so that we know that all students are secured. I mean, I'm triple vaccinated and I'm still doing like self-tests every day, because, you know, it's better to be safe than sorry afterwards, you know. And when it comes to, you know, meeting parents and students the whole day, it makes sense that you kind of do need, you know, be careful, and till it passes away, at least.
But I honestly forgot about the year 2020. Like when just it's like gone. I don't think that's the year that should be counted at all. Let's just scratch it out. That's it.
This is true.
It was a huge shock for everyone, students, professors, just people in general. And I'm really happy that things are going back to normal.
Well, we hope that next time it's going to be live and not like on a webinar. So
yes.
Let's hope that it's going to be not live on YouTube, but live in personal,
in person.
In person. So let's hope.
Great. I'll let you continue because I'm excited to hear more. If I have any more questions, you'll see me raise my hand.
Interrupt me. No worries. So as I mentioned in the beginning, we will discuss a little bit more about the admissions philosophy. As you can actually see, because of the vibrant global community that we have here, we have a holistic application process, and it matters a lot of us, you know, that personal responsibility of the community and integrity to every student who is applying. That's why we actually evaluate every application in, totally by itself, so that students feel secured and feel to have the option, you know, to be integrated to ACT by their own application. So this is the, let's say, the application process for students who are going for undergraduate studies. We have a rolling admissions. It means that we have 2 intake periods, one on January and one on September. Students who are graduating this year, they most probably will be applying for September. At least they have a lot of time in front of them. We have the regular admissions deadline by the end of March, which I guess is the best period for someone to apply, especially if you are interested for a scholarship and housing. And then you have the late admissions deadline by the end of May, which is the latest application deadline that someone can apply. The process is really easy. As I mentioned before, Via Academica is there for you. So if you wish to ask questions, you know, go have a session with them. They will help you collect your documents and everything that you need to do. But, you know, it's very, let's say, common. You have to collect your grades. your personal essay, motivational letter, explain why you are applying at ACT. Maybe a recommendation letter and activities, which is very important for an admissions counselor to take a look at, you know, and what it makes different you as a student compared to another student, for example, why you are applying to this institution. And this is what I would advise students at this point, you know, just don't do one application. You know, you can do many applications, but make sure to, first of all, take a look at the course catalog, which means that you have take a look at the courses that you are applying for, because it makes a huge difference. For example, if you don't like traveling, you're not going to go for tourism, right? So it makes sense that you kind of be integrated to the whole research thing when you are applying for a university, and make a difference in your motivational letter, because the director of admissions usually read that, and it's very important for your application evaluation. And of course, there is the non-refundable application fee of 70 euros. Here is in US dollars, but in euros is 70 euros, the application fee for students who are applying. The same application process applies to all students who are interested for master's program, but instead of their high school degree, they need to provide us with their bachelor degrees and their bachelor transcript of grades. Just note before going to tuition and fees that if the students are interested into going into US, you don't have to retake this process. You are automatically transferred into that. You don't have to go to SATs, ACTs, TOEFL, and stuff like that. You still need to hold a certain English level of certificate to clarify and to testify that you know the English language and you can actually deliver in the English language, because you don't have to know Greek in order to be here at ACT. So, but you don't have to go all those you know, different examinations like GRE, GMAT, and stuff like that. So you just have like a smoother transition if you wish to transfer in US. You don't have to go through that process again. As I mentioned, the tuition fees for our bachelor programs are 8,400 euros. So this means that you are taking 3 credits per course, and each course costs 840 euros. This is the tuition fees without any type of scholarship. The fees on labs, for example, or I think in labs, most of it, especially in the computer science program, are usually 300 to 500 per year, but to other majors are approximately 100 to 200 only for the first year of study. So you won't be having additional costs. And you just receive, let's say when you complete your application, you go through your application, you upload all the documents, you have the interview with the admissions office, and then within 10 working days, you will be notified whether you are accepted or not. So if you're accepted, you will have to go through the process, which means that you are going to deposit one guarantee fee, which is one course, 840 euros. And this amount of money will be deducted from your annual tuition fees. So you can understand that in that way, you are kind of guaranteeing and securing your place at the ACT. It's really, really important to know that if you're applying for a financial aid, which it might be based on your financial situation, but at the same time in your academic situation, in your academic background. And the reason that I'm mentioning that is that, as I mentioned, we're a nonprofit organization. So the scholarships that we provide are actually paid by someone. It might be a donor, it might be an organization. It is someone paying for that percentage. For the last 3 to 4 years, I think, we have been granting as an institution to all students who are coming from Serbia, Montenegro, and Bosnia and Herzegovina a 45% of scholarship to undergraduate studies. So this means that by just applying at ACT, completing your application and the application materials, you receive a 45% of scholarship. So this means 8,000 minus 8,400 minus, let's say the 45%, which is actually half amount of money. And this is how you save up some, let's say, money to integrate that either in your master's programs or if you wish to transfer to the US. It's very, very important because there is an opportunity there. And, you know, those scholarships, they last for all 4 years of studies here at ACT. They are secured as long as you if you're not transferred, they are secured for 4 years. If you transfer after your second year of studies, it's secured for the first 2 years, right? So it's very, very important for students that either lack of economic situation or they wish to do kind of combine both. It's very important to receive that. We offer financial aid more than 45%, but we usually have those students integrated by the end of the late admissions deadline, which means whether we have still funds to provide to those students with a higher percentage of not. So if you wish to apply for a higher percentage than 45%, you will have to wait by the end of the late admissions deadline. So it's very important to also note that. Financial aid is applied on all 4 years of studies, as I mentioned here at ACT, provided that the student maintains the required GPA. So you will know that from the beginning, you will be prepared, you will organize yourself. A lot of students, they ask me, okay, Vula, when is the best time, to apply to a university? The best time I would suggest is around, February, March, April. Don't go more than that because afterwards you will be losing your housing options. Most of the universities, especially in cities such as, for example, Utrecht or Thessaloniki or Rome, for example, it's very, very important that you apply early in advance because they attract a lot of students. So this means that if you're coming in August, for example, or in September, you won't be finding a place to stay. ACT offers 2 different options of housing. The first one is off-campus accommodation, which is different buildings around the city, which are coordinated and owned by ACT. So there you have the option to go with a single room, which is 440 euros per month, includes everything apart from food and transportation, which is the extra cost that you might have as a student. And the single room, which means that I get to, did I say single or double? I think single I said in the beginning. And then you have the option with double room, which means that you're staying with another girl or with a boy if you're a boy, and it costs 300 euros per month. Again, it includes everything, and you just share a kitchen and a bathroom with the other student. It's very, very important to know that it's only for the first year of studies. So usually when you get accepted from the college, you will have like 10 days period to whether reject the offer or accept the offer. If you reject, there is no obligation towards ACT. If you accept, then we are going with the process with a guarantee fee, with housing options. We are sharing with you housing options, and then you just move forward. The second option is that we provide you with a list of places, apartments, or private owned houses, for example, and we get you into contact with other students, for example, just to make sure that you find a place to stay and you kind of share your living expenses. Housing costs might range into that place from into those lists, for example, from 150 euros up to 500 or 450. It depends on the area of selection. The monthly costs, it also depends on lifestyle, as I usually call it, whether you are cooking at home, whether you are going too much out or, stuff like that. But usually I would suggest that they are from 200 euros per month up to, 1,000. It depends on your living standards, right? So it's very, very important to know that both for scholarships and housing, you kind of apply as early as possible. You still have time, of course, by the end of May, you still have time, but the sooner you apply, the better for you to be organized. Also around June, July, you will be receiving student visas guidelines. So you just follow the steps. And then when you arrive here, you will have the orientation, the beginning of classes, meeting with other students, meeting your professors and advisors. And at the same time, you will have guidance from the International Programs Office, who is going to help you with your residence permit. So you have to be very careful in your appointments in Periferia. This is how it's called, the place that you are applying for a residence permit. I remember we had a student, I think it's the only case that we had that. And that student was a non-EU student. So he came at the ACT, and after 90 days, if you haven't applied for a residence permit and you are still with your student visa, police calls you and they are telling you that you are going to be expelled from the country for 5 years because you are considered to be illegal. So what he did, he forgot his appointment with Periferia and he never got his residence permit. So, we tried to do everything comprised into 1 or 2 days so that student was on time eventually. But when you have that deadline and you have that appointment, you don't miss it out. So you just follow the steps. There is someone guiding you. There is someone, accompanying you in those appointments from ACT. So it's very easy as a process as long as you are on time and you haven't forgotten your appointment. I'm just mentioning that in a very dramatic way because it's very important for students to remember, but it makes a difference, I guess. Last but not least, I think I wanted to mention this slide because it's very important to know all those colleges that we collaborate with. We partner with either for study abroad programs, 1 or 2 semesters. We partner with for our students to do their transferring there. We partner, for internships, for example. So it's very, very important to know that it's not just a name, at the slide, but it actually is happening for students that they wish to do that. So the next steps are very easy. I would say that you can download the course catalog to take a look at let's say, the different factors, contact Via Academica to help you with your online application with questions and advising. It's very, very important. And of course, you can set up a Google Meet with us if in the case that you wish to ask something or you wish to let us know something, so we can also guide you accordingly. Okay, let me just introduce our team a little bit. He's Manolis Mau. He used to be a math professor here at ACT. He used to be my math professor. He's now chair of the computer science division. He was the one who was doing the Instagram live, but also he's director of enrollment. Miss Lebetli over here, she's the director of admissions. She's the one who is reviewing applications or scholarship related questions. And this is me. So enrollment officer and coordinator for EU and Balkan area. This is my email in the case that you wish to ask something. Just make sure to let me know that you've seen me in the online presentation with Via Academica, so that we know that you are coming from Via Academica, and make sure that you have a proper communication with both Via Academica and us. We'll be more than happy to freely accommodate you. So thank you so much for today, and I think you might be having questions or not. I'm stopping sharing my screen.
Thank you so much for this presentation. It was very, very informative and also very interesting. We on our team really love to see a presentation where the most necessary information is shared. So especially with the admission process, we get the most questions out of that area. So it's always nice to see everything covered and listed in bullet points. It makes my heart very happy. I did have a couple of questions.
Yep.
So I didn't see when you mentioned the requirements for admission, I didn't see any language certificates or...
It's because I usually expect from advisors to ask me. No, I'm just joking. It's because of 2 reasons. First of all, there are different English certificates that we accept, like TOEFL, IELTS, Duolingo, Cambridge, for example. It's necessary for all non-EU students to hold a certain English certificate. Apart from, based on the Greek law, students will be requested to demonstrate that when they will be applying for a student visa. If they don't have during their appointment that, they won't be granted the student visa. The same applies when they will be applying here for a residence permit. So it's very, very important for students to hold a certificate in the English language. The higher the percentage, the better for them, both for a smoother transition here, but at the same time for a better scholarship and for their application to be reviewed in a better way. Usually for TOEFL, internet-based, we accept 89 and above. For Duolingo, 110. For Cambridge, B2 level and above, like lower level, but the highest the score, the better for them. And IELTS 6.5, which is like the minimum, let's say, requirement.
That's around B2 level.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
In general, B2 level, C1 or between into that. The highest the score, the better for the student, because during the first year of studies, they will be taking 3 courses of English language and literature. So this means that, they will be kind of separated, the students that they have like a high percentage of English and the students who have a lower. Though the students who have a lower percentage of English, they will do extra classes along with the remaining classes, just to get along, after the first semester to the second term to go with the students that they had like better grades. So it counts because the students will be integrated at some point. So the level needs to be kind of the same. We have made sure for students to be part of that, but at the same time, we allow them, okay, because you might be having like a bad day and you went and had like your English placement and you didn't do well. So that's why we also suggest like apply as early as possible, because you will have more time to retake that examination. Well, if you're applying on April or in May and your English test for some reason is low, but your English are great, you need to take more time to demonstrate that again. So that's why we usually, as advisors, we suggest that the sooner you apply, for many reasons, is better to be kind of organized,
Okay. And in terms of master's degree, or degrees, it's also B2 that is required or higher?
C1 level.
C1 for master's degrees. Nice. Mm-hmm. This was very helpful, actually, because you explained it so well. It makes total sense. You will need to be taking some English lessons during your undergrad.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense for us as well. We don't want a student who is struggling. We don't want parents who will have like not satisfied kid back at home, or who they will start worrying why is he or she is failing classes. So we don't think in the way, okay, just do the application and whatever. You need to be present. You need to be kind of showing that you really care. Otherwise, why your parents have to pay all that amount of money,
You mentioned that the scholarship is also contingent upon the language certificate. That's part of it, right? The higher the language certificate,
yeah, the better. I mean, in general,
better chances.
If students are having the full profile and the right application requirements and the whole thing, like with all the small requirements that I mentioned, then they are eligible, to receive that 45% of scholarship, which is a very generous scholarship. For 4 years of studies. They need to maintain a certain GPA. For example, with the 45%, they need to maintain 2.9 out of 4. So it's not like a huge GPA, but at least, but again, it's not very low. It's a good percentage around, it's a good grade around 3, which after 3 is 4 is the highest. But it's very, very important because, they learn to evaluate. They learn that nothing is granted, even though the fund or the budget is granted for that student and is secured for all 4 years of studies. If for one time they fail to give that GPA, they will receive just a small notification from the admissions office. So no change, no actual change. For the second consecutive time, they will receive a 10% reduction of their scholarship. And for the third consecutive time, which means that they are going to be in their 3rd year of studies, we deduct the whole percentage of scholarship. So for the fourth year, they will have to pay the whole amount, right? Because it's a motivation, but having that financial, let's say, burden taken out of you, but at the same time you have to demonstrate that you are keeping it, you earn it, no one just makes sure to pay for your tuition fees if you're not worth it, right?
Yeah. And it also, like, if they want to continue with their master's degrees or any other postgraduate programs, you need a good GPA. So it's kind of, it's necessary either way to have
it's a
good
huge
grades.
discussion here at ACT in regards to that, because when I usually have students here in my office for their master's program, I totally review in a totally different way their application if I see that they had the scholarship and they maintain it. And it's totally different seeing a student, who their parents paid for the whole tuition fees. It shows a totally different point of view in your admission, as a master's program student, regardless of whether you are coming at ACT or whether you are going to another institution for your master's program. It shows something for you as a prospective master's program student. At the same time, here at ACT, because we are a nonprofit organization, if, for example, we see a student who has a very high GPA and has demonstrated, like good grades and activities and stuff like that, most of the time, those donors, because they receive every year a report for that specific person who are, donating money for the scholarship, usually they suggest that they pay their master's program as well. So it's not only motivation for now, but it's also motivation for later in the case that you wish to take your master's program here, you still have that, scholarship, which, you understand that it's a big thing because you have earned it. Right? Exactly. No one is giving you for free.
Yeah, that was actually another question I had in terms of scholarships for master's programs. Is it the same?
For master's programs, scholarship starts from 20% up to 60%, and we review their financial situation, which means income statements for the last 2 years, bank statements, tax statements, and stuff like that. And also, it's going to follow an interview with financial aid committee, plus the academic background. So it's both on, let's say, qualitative and quantitative data. It's not just, financials and nothing else. So we kind of review the whole application.
Nice. The whole candidate. Yeah. So like the full picture. Very nice. I had another question. So you mentioned that students are, of course, entitled to accommodation. Mm-hmm. So do they get accommodation for all 4 years, or do they need to reapply every year?
It's only for the first year of studies. The off-campus accommodation provided by ACT, it's only for the first year of studies. Afterwards, we either provide them with that list that I mentioned with, renewed places and apartments, or usually, because they have already created their own friendships, they kind of start living with another friend, meeting with other students from higher classes, so they don't wish to stay anymore in our off-campus accommodation because they feel like they are kind of too secured, or, it's kind of weird. They are not, let's say, on a boarding school, right? They can enter and they can go whatever they like. But they feel like, they need to experience that by themselves. So it makes sense that afterwards they wish to move somewhere that they choose and, build their own house a little bit. So, it makes sense. But yeah, we provide that only for the first year of studies.
Okay. And I think I only have one more question.
Yep.
And that is this. We have a lot of students that, for example, the first 2 years, they follow the national program. So something that's pretty standard for this region. They go to high school for 4 years, then take the national exam, and then they go to university. So we have students that take the first 2 years of the national program, and then they switch to A levels for the last 2. How is the admission process for them? How does it work? Is it any different to?
No. It's exactly the same. We just made the translation for that student. So You just apply with description of courses, let's say levels and the grades. So we just need to make the translation into what it means to the American educational system. So no worries about it.
Okay, and actually one extra one. When they get their degree, so let's say undergrad, they're done and they want to go and do their master's somewhere in America, some other college. Is the degree that they get, the diploma, recognized in America too, or does it need to be legalized, verified?
No. It's fully, as I mentioned in the beginning, accredited and recognized both in US, UK, and Europe, also back in their home country. From the NARIC, it's called NARIC, is actually the national institution that accredits colleges from abroad. We have our offices in Boston, so they don't need to go through that. I mean, our headquarters are in Boston, but the college is located here. Because of the long history that we had from Asia Minor. No, they don't need to do that. The same applies for undergraduate students. The same applies for master's program students. So if they wish to go for a PhD, for example, or to work, which is very, very essential. If we weren't recognized, and I'm saying that so that in that way, so that students can understand, they won't be able to transfer any of their courses. They wouldn't be able to do an internship. They wouldn't be able, to work back in their home country. So it's very important to know, and this is why I mentioned the beginning, and I made it the same so that they can understand that even if you went to, let's say, Harvard or Princeton, you would still have that the same accreditation and recognition, so that would mean that you would still have the same professional and academic rights as those students. So it's very, very important, because you get a degree, you pay a ton of money and you spend your time and your parents are worried. And then you somehow understand that they are not recognized. So that's why I suggested in the beginning that you take a look at those things when you're applying to an institution. It's very important to be aware since the beginning. Even if you're 18 years old, 17 years old, you have to ask that.
Exactly. Well, I'm speechless, honestly. This sounds like such an amazing opportunity. And I've heard many stories I have part of my family living in America, and I've heard some stories about the American system, but I never experienced it. So this is
never too late.
Exactly. It's never too late. Thank you, Willa, so much for being here with me, for joining me, for talking to us about ACT. I really appreciate it. And I know that all the students watching do appreciate it as well.
It was a pleasure talking to you, and thank you for all your questions. They are very valuable. Thank you for making me feel like very, relaxed, and like we are talking in our, let's say, living room here and having a coffee.
That's the vibe. I have water. Let's pretend
I
it's
have
coffee.
still coffee from morning, but I will switch to water. Pleasure to meet you. One last advice to all the students: make it count. It's your last year, and make it count. It's very important for you guys, for your parents as well. Don't put pressure on yourself. Just enjoy it, and cheers to new beginnings. This is what I would say to all the students. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, have a good night. Ja ću vas evo pozdraviti i na našem jeziku. Ja se zaista nadam da ste uživali u ovom webinaru i kako nam je Vula ispričala sve korisne informacije koje ja se zaista nadam da ste nešto zapisivali, a ukoliko niste, Vi akademika je zvanični predstavnik ACT univerziteta, tako da kao partneri, ukoliko stupite u kontakt s nama, ne samo da ćete imati besplatno savjetovanje, već i slanje aplikacije, revizije i sve što ide uz to. Tako da možete nam se javiti ili telefonom ili preko info@viakademika.com i vidimo se onda sljedeći put. Laku noć. Bye!
Bye!